Recently on the channel, we have taken a look at NHL trades that both teams won. We've taken a look at some of the worst trades of the past decade as well. But now in today's video, I want to take a look at 6 NHL trades that both teams lost. Now, if you get very picky and dive really deep into it and look at game for game stats and stuff like that, you definitely could choose a winner for some of these trades. But overall, I feel like all these trades that I'm going to talk about didn't really benefit either team in the long run. Starting the video off with one that I kind of already spoiled by the thumbnail. This happened on July 3rd, 2011, and that is the Minnesota Wild acquiring Dany Heatley in a 1-for-1 swap for Martin Havlat. When this trade happened, Havlat was coming off of a 62-point season with the Minnesota Wild. That was a very good year for him, and Dany Heatley was coming off of a 64-point season with the Sharks. And the year prior to that, Heatley had 82 points and was a point per game, so the 64 seemed like kind of a down year for Heatley. And in Heatley's first season with the Minnesota Wild, he put up 53 points in 82 games, which was another drop in point production and definitely wasn't a good sign for the Wild. But then the following 2 seasons is where things would really drop off. In the 2012-13 season, Heatley only played in 36 games and had 21 points, and then the following season, which was his last year in Minnesota and second last year in the league, only 28 points in 76 games and was a -18. And then when you go take a look and see how Martin Havlat did in San Jose, it wasn't much better than how Heatley did with the Wild. Havlat's first year only played in 39 games due to injury and had 27 points, so points per game was pretty good, but just wasn't able to stay healthy. The following year at the Sharks only played 40 games, once again injured a lot, only 18 points, and then his final year with the Sharks and his third last season in the league, only 48 games played, once again due to injury. This is just a guy who could never stay healthy after the trade, and honestly, I feel like both of these teams would have just been better off if they didn't make this trade at all, so that's why I featured it as the main trade of the video. Moving along now to the next trade. This one happened on June 27th of 2015, and this trade sent Emerson Eden a 2015 second and a 2016 third to the Rangers in exchange for Carl Hagelin and a 2015 second round pick. Now, these draft picks really didn't turn out to be anything, at least not yet anyways, so it was basically just a 1-for-1 swap of Eden for Hagelin if you look back at it now. And neither of these players really worked out with the team that they were traded to, as Carl Hagelin only played 43 games with the Ducks and put up 12 points and was a -10 during the 2015-16 season before then being traded to the Penguins, and then he really played well after that. And then you take a look at how Emerson Eden played with the Rangers, and it wasn't much better at all, as he had just 3 assists in 19 games in the 2015-16 season before being traded away that same season to the Vancouver Canucks. And Emerson Eden is definitely an interesting case. This is a guy who scored 60 goals in the WHL, was a first-round pick by the Anaheim Ducks, and I remember him play very well for the Ducks in the 2013 playoffs against the Red Wings, and I thought he was going to turn out to be a very, very good player. He was very fast, very skilled, had a great shot, but things really just didn't work out for him after his little stint with the Anaheim Ducks and was never really able to make it at the NHL level. And looking back at this trade now, really either team didn't benefit from it at all. The next trade we have to talk about happened on February 7th of 2012 and sent Cody Hudson to the Buffalo Sabres in exchange for Zack Kassian. Now, there was 2 other players involved in this trade, but they were never NHLers, and they're not NHLers anymore either, so it really doesn't matter, and it was basically just a 1-for-1 swap between these 2 guys. Kassian was a former 13th overall pick in 2009 by the Buffalo Sabres, but he didn't play his rookie season till the 2011-2012 year, and 27 games into the season, he had 7 points and was then sent to the Vancouver Canucks in this trade. And after the trade to the Canucks, Zack Kassian did spend about 4 seasons in Vancouver, but was never really able to live up to the expectations as a former lottery pick. And obviously now is a current member of the Edmonton Oilers and a pretty big piece to that team, but he didn't really benefit Vancouver at all. And then when you look at Cody Hudson's seasons with the Buffalo Sabres, he came in, played 20 games, and had 8 points in his first year with them, and then followed that up with a 15-goal year before having a breakout season with 20 goals in 2013-14. But the following year, he would only score 6 goals in 78 games, and that would be his second last season in the NHL, as obviously he is now currently retired. So I guess you could kind of say maybe Buffalo won this trade because they did get one 20-goal season out of Cody Hudson, but that was basically it, as again, he only played 1 season after that and really struggled. Next up, this trade happened on February 29th of 2016, and that was the New Jersey Devils acquiring Devontae Smith-Pelly from the Montreal Canadiens in exchange for their 2012 first-round pick Stephane Matteau. And at the time of this trade, trade, both players were still young and not currently working out with their teams, so it looked like it was a pretty smart move to give both young players a fresh start, as Stephane Matteau was never able to consistently crack the New Jersey Devils NHL roster, but it was kind of the same case in Montreal, as he only played 12 games with the team in 2015-16, and those were the only games he would appear in as a member of the Montreal Canadiens, and now Stephane Matteau is currently in the American Hockey League playing for the Cleveland Monsters. And then you take a look at Devontae Smith-Pelly's stint with the Devils, his 18 games in 2015-16 after the trade, it looked like he was a pretty prominent young player for them, as he had 8 goals and 5 assists for 13 points in 18 games. And heading into the next season, there were some high expectations for him, but he disappointed in a big way with just 4 goals and 5 assists for 9 points in 53 games. Smith-Pelly would then spend the last 2 seasons with the Washington Capitals, where he definitely had some good moments and was actually really solid for them in their run to the Stanley Cup final, but his time in the NHL is over and he's currently playing in the KHL. So looking back at this trade, yeah, maybe you could call the Devils winners, as the end of the 2015-16 season, Smith-Pelly was decent for them, but honestly in the long run it really didn't benefit either side. Moving on to the next trade we have to talk about, this one took place on July 5th of 2015 and it sent Riley Smith and the contract of Mark Savard, because everybody knew he wasn't going to play another NHL game, to the Florida Panthers in exchange for Jimmy Hayes. And yeah, I guess you could say maybe Florida won this trade because they did get one very good season out of Riley Smith. His first year there, he had 50 points in 82 games and earned himself a new contract giving him $5 million annually, but the following year his point production took a pretty big dip, as he only put up 37 points in 80 games and was a minus 13, and eventually traded away to the Vegas Golden Knights in exchange for a 4th round pick. Talking about Riley Smith, it kind of just reminds me how bad Vegas fleeced the Florida Panthers in the expansion draft, not only getting Riley Smith but also picking up Jonathan Marchessault. Still pretty crazy to think about, but now getting back to the trade and taking a look at how Jimmy Hayes played for the Boston Bruins. His first year was decent, 29 points in 75 games, but the following year would only appear in 58 games and put up 5 points and is now an American Hockey League player. So Boston doesn't really have anything to show for this trade, and Riley Smith definitely could have still been a member of that team if they decided to keep him around. And for Florida, they don't have anything to show for it as well. They got one good season of Riley Smith, but that's it. So honestly, in the long run, this trade really didn't benefit either team, but like I said at the beginning, maybe you could call Florida winners for getting that 125 goal season out of Smith. And now, to finish out the video, we're going to talk about the trade that sent Jarome Iginla to the Pittsburgh Penguins in exchange for Kenny Agostino, Ben Hanowski, and a 2013 first-round pick. Now, when Iginla was on the Penguins, he was already 35 years old, so it kind of looked like Calgary did a very good job getting a 2013 first-round pick for him. Kenny Agostino and Ben Hanowski were kind of just throw-ins, and now both of these guys aren't in the NHL, as Agostino's an American Hockey League player and Hanowski's now playing overseas. And honestly, this trade probably would have turned out pretty well for the Flames had they have selected a stud with that 2013 first round pick, but the player they took was Morgan Klimchuk, who has played in only 1 NHL game and is now playing in the American Hockey League for the Belleville Senators. Now honestly, I feel like most people will say the Penguins won this trade because after being traded at the 2013 deadline, he played in 13 games with the Penguins and had 11 points. But Pittsburgh most likely only wanted him for that veteran presence and an added piece to go after a Stanley Cup. And in the playoffs in 15 games, Iginla did have 4 goals and 8 assists for 12 points, but after that the following summer he would sign with the Boston Bruins as a UFA. So Pittsburgh really didn't get all that much out of Iginla and they gave up a first round pick for it, but luckily for them it didn't really turn out to be a good player at all. So honestly, like I've said with a lot of these other trades, it really didn't benefit either team in the long run. And honestly, I would have preferred if Iginla just retired as a member of the Calgary Flames, because obviously he's an absolute legend of the game, a Hall of Famer, and was arguably the best player in the franchise's history. But as everyone knows, he kind of bounced around the league a little bit in the final years of his career, but still did a pretty good job. So that is going to wrap up today's video. I really hope you guys did enjoy. Make sure to let me know down in the comment section below if you guys think I missed any, or there was some trades that you guys can think of that both teams lost that I should have had in the video. And also, like I said at the start, if you really nitpick, you most likely can find a winner in some of these trades, but I feel like the most part, all these moves didn't really benefit either team that much. So that is why I kind of classify them as lose-lose trades, and I thought this would be a pretty cool video to make since I've already talked about trades that both teams won and some of the worst trades in the past decade. So with all that being said, that is going to wrap up today's video. I really hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, please make sure to drop a like on it, and my goal is to hit 25k subs by Christmas, so if you guys are new around here and you've been enjoying the hockey content every single day, feel free to hit that subscribe subscribe button, and I will see you guys all in tomorrow's video.